Thanks so much for stopping by again, everybody. This is Budget Wine with Bacchus Bruce. Really pleased to have you here this afternoon. Have a good-looking French red wine to try today. This is the Domaine Pellehaut, and this is a red coming out of the Gascogne region of southwest France. Really excited about it. So they're calling this the Harmonie de Gascogne, which is Harmony of Gascony. And this wine is coming from the area that's a little bit southeast of Bordeaux. So you do have a little bit of Bordeaux influence, but this is really, as far as red wine goes, Tannat country. So Tannat, in case you're not familiar with Tannat, is one of those kind of overnight sensations in the country of Uruguay, actually, in South America. Tannat has kind of slowly crept into the national prominence as their national varietal, much like Argentina kind of did with Malbec. So Tannat really is a big wine, as you can imagine, like Malbec, and to be blending it with Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot, which is typical of the region, kind of shows you just how big Tannat can be, because Cabernet Sauvignon certainly is big structured on its own. This particular wine is actually blended with a bit of Syrah as well. And 2014, it's got a little bit of age on it, so it should be showing pretty well. Have had a few 2014s recently, and from France, and they all seem to be pretty nice wines. So to get this for $5.99 at the grocery outlet in Petaluma seemed like a pretty good opportunity to kind of familiarize myself with Tannat a little bit. So the region actually is white wine country. So about 90% roughly of all production is dedicated to white wines, but there is some red produced as well, like this one. So you have about overall about 10% of both red and rosé production in the region. So kind of fun, kind of different, and really excited about it. So let's go ahead and dive right into the wine here. Looks very, very pretty in the color. Like it might be starting to kind of soften a little bit. You have that kind of color where age is starting to kind of affect the wine. So and wearing a white shirt is always a good idea to see this kind of wine in its evolution. So let's go ahead and see what we have on the nose. And really pretty. So had the wine open about 10 minutes now, and it really just continues to evolve. So what I'm getting primarily is kind of a cranberry note, which typically is found in Pinot Noirs, but not so much in other wines, but does have a really pretty nose. So there's also some boysenberry as well. There's also a little bit of earthiness. So there's a little bit of tar and a little bit of smoke note to it. There's also a little bit of black pepper, which is really fantastic. It just is screaming terroir on the nose, and again, one of the things about French wines, which we're always contrasting against California wines, is that there's no really upfront ripe fruit that's kind of just jumping out at you. It's really more about restraint and kind of listening to the wine as opposed to being announced that the wine is here. It's a little bit different way of thinking. So let's go ahead and see what we have on the palate. And again, the wine continues to evolve. It's a moderate structure. Tannins are actually kind of softening at this point in time. Really kind of approachable and delicious. It does have a nice tangy acidity to it, a little bit of tobacco note, a little bit of again black pepper. It's got more kind of a raspberry berry fruit to it, but it's just kind of got this kind of different sort of complex profile, which I'm honestly not that familiar with. It's quite different and very, very good. So we do have a food and wine pairing coming up on the next episode, so make sure you stay tuned for that, because I think it's going to actually go really well with this wine. The wine is finishing quite lovely. It does have a little bit of earthiness and a little bit of again kind of a herbaceousness to it, but really it's a pretty wine, and I think it shows really well if you're looking for an introduction to the Gascony region red wine scene. Then I think this would be as good as any point to start, because it is certainly great value for the price, and it does have a little bit of story behind it. The Domaine de Pellehaut has kind of been noted as one of the wineries that's been raising the bar of quality in recent vintages. and the wine is certainly showing very well. Really delicious. So the 2014 Domaine de Pellehaut, coming out of a little area called the Montreal de Gers, or in French, Montréal de Gers, which is again a little small village in the region of the Gers, in the southwest of France. So really, really wonderful. Thanks again for stopping by. Budget Wine with Bacchus Bruce. Always pleased to have you here. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and we'll see you in the tasting room.